Got traffic there. Blaster, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a lowest downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final. You're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold. Take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see. What we got? A tricycle. Tricycle. Put it down. Tricycle. Put it down. Tricycle. Put it down. Tail dragger. Down to the green dot. Then a left turn. Short final here. You click land on 9 all the way to the white dot. Go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway, and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern, or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep your airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final, and as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to re-sequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, you're on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around.
Yeah, I can follow.
Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, 3, 2, 1.
Oh no! Hang on a minute. There you go. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. As you can see, we are back with our usual high value production value things that we forgot to take. Oh no. Anyway, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us on what is a bloody lovely evening. I hope there's a whole bunch of people having a good barbecue at Popham this evening, and a whole bunch of other people floating around in cub-like, well, obviously not a real cub because that's a bit, but you know, floating around in cub-like wings in the summer evening. Be much better in a Cessna. Actually, it probably wouldn't, to be perfect honest with you. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. We've got a great show for you this evening. But first of all, I have to thank SkyDemon for supporting the live stream. It's hugely appreciated, SkyDemon. I need to re-scroll. I just scroll to the picture. And this week's top tip's all about deleting stuff. So here you go with SkyDemon's top tip.
Hi, I'm Hannah from SkyDemon, and this is today's top tip. You may have one or more routes that you no longer need. To delete one, go to the route menu, tap open, and swipe to the left to bring up the delete button. Android users just need to press and hold. You can also delete logs by going to the logs library, tapping all my logs, and swiping to the left. To delete user waypoints, go to setup, and the user waypoints library. You can delete an entire folder or just an individual waypoint. When you delete, it's also removed from the cloud. For more information on using SkyDemon, take a look at our user guide, which you can access from our website.
Blimey. I never thought that SkyDemon would see me swiping left or right.
I don't know what you're talking about, Ed, but apparently that's a really popular question for SkyDemon users, because I can kind of see that because you get a whole bunch of stuff. But I guess if you're a youngster and used to using software that clearly you are, Ed, then you've got the whole swiping thing intuitively down, as it were. So yeah, so thank you for that. Right, I guess everyone's interested in what the weather's going to be like this weekend. Any F1 fans will have noticed that the Grand Prix in Imola has been cancelled due to torrential rain in Italy. So I'm kind of hoping we're not going to get the same in the UK. Simon is not with us tonight. He's away. He's at the beach. He told me, he said, I've just changed out of my Speedos. And I know. I'm glad you changed out your Speedos before you recorded the weather, Simon. It was a bit of a whole different audience. Anyway, here's Simon Sans Speedos with this weekend's weather for you.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're well this evening. Apologies for not being with you live this evening. I'm still recovering, actually, from the FLYER Livestream live last week in London. What a great event. Thanks to everybody for putting that on. Yes, and I know, not a particularly loud shirt, but I'll let you into a secret. I've just got back from the beach and just haven't had time to put one on, so you'll have to put up with stripes, I'm afraid, today. Anyway, on with the forecast. That's what we came for, not a fashion show. This is how things shape up for Friday. We've got a weak front that's across central and eastern areas during the course of Friday. This is going to be bringing with it a little bit of light rain. Base is typically around about 2,000 feet, but we might just find along the line of the front where it goes through, we could see bases briefly tipping down to about 1,000 to 2,000 feet. Tops on that cloud are up about 8,000 to 10,000 feet. It's a bit of an iffy one. I think local flying along it, just beware for some QNIMs could develop through that front as well. Probably best to check the forecast early tomorrow morning on that one as well. But as I say, not expecting a lot on it. East Anglia, South East England look as if they fare better, and certainly Scotland and Ireland look as if they fare fairly well through the course of Friday as well. Notice on the cloud ceiling forecasts here, those green colours, those are generally 2,000 foot bases. The white colours, 4,000 foot bases. So you see, for the majority, it falls into that sort of category, apart from where we're seeing that front go through across parts of the Midlands. Now, on to Sunday. High pressure is building in through, Saturday. And it looks as if there'll be some morning mist and fog patches first thing, particularly Midlands, Wales, northern parts of England. They will be clearing away. They may lift into low cloud for a time, so Just be aware of that. But generally, I think we do go into fair conditions through Saturday. Bases of around 4,000 feet. Tops are up at about 18,000 feet. More cloud, Western Scotland, Western Ireland, just as this warm front moves in, bringing low cloud here. Bases about 1,000 feet there, tops at about 10,000 feet. But for most other areas, it looks as if it should be a fair day. On to Sunday, and again, high pressure is in control. I think a bit of a change on Sunday, though, with a northeast flow across East Anglia and southern England. Now, that could bring some cloud in off the North Sea across East Anglia and the southeast at first. That will gradually clear away. You see it here, the cloud ceiling forecast picking up on that as well. It does clear away, but it may be early afternoon for some. Also, a front through Scotland and through eastern parts of Ireland. Again, it's a weak affair, but I do think along the line of the front, we're probably into non-VFR conditions, bases below 1,000 feet and some rain and drizzle to boot as well. Okay, for the north of Scotland and also away from that low cloud to the southeast. So Sunday, bit of a hit and miss one, but if you can take advantage of it, it's there for the taking. And all in all, not a bad weekend. Now, if you want to be able to forecast the weather yourself, you need to come along to Aviation Weather School. I've just announced my next online course. Places booking up on that already. And it's going to be on the consecutive Tuesday evenings of the 13th and 20th of June. Between 6:30 and 9 p.m. If you want to book your place now, go to weatherschool.co.uk and it will be super to see you there. Okay, from Welsh Wales, I will leave you with that for now. Have a great weekend and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Okay.
See you later, Simon. See you later.
Not too bad.
Not too bad, but for those of us going to Wickham tomorrow, which is from the people here, it's basically Dave and I. It looks like, I mean, that the front was still not at Wickham at midday at 12 o'clock, but depending on how it moves, I reckon there could be some rain coming in sort of 1, 2 o'clock if we're not lucky, a bit of light rain. And so hopefully we'll get there. We'll get there at 10, Dave. Yeah. Get our stuff done while the weather's good, the light's good, make everyone look resplendent, as it were, and then run away when it rains, I guess.
Very good. There was a comment that popped up just as we started the show. The Wheelie Plane bloke said, Compton Abbas, impressive new restaurant, was a soft open yesterday when we flew in. Full opening tomorrow, apparently.
Excellent. I think if the weather holds, then next week we should probably try a little trip to Compton Abbas and check them out.
I think so.
Sounds good to me. Good. Right. It's time for club promo, but as you'll notice, Sarah's not here, Johnny's not here, so this week it falls to me. So first of all, let me tell you about the free landings for the month of May. Free landings are Balado, Barton, Audley End, Peterborough, Simpson, and Dunkerswell. I mean, there's got to be like 4 months worth of value in that anyway. But apart from that, you get all of the content we produce on the website, plus a whole load of older content that we produced, because clearly it's there all the time. An exclusive live stream on a Wednesday, and a whole bunch of other stuff, including webinars. There's an exclusive webinar coming up on the 30th of May, which is Dave White. I've noticed Dave's in the audience there. There you go. We forgot to put a date on that, but it is actually the 30th of May, and Dave will be doing his Going Foreign website. So if you want to know what changes have been and what you need to do now to stay the right side of the law, not finding yourself in a little French prison, then that's the webinar to watch, I would say. So there you go. Go to flyer.co.uk/membership. Sign up, just £5 a month. Probably the biggest bargain in general aviation, I'd say. So get on there and sign up now. Thank you very much. Probably time to move to some news. You get access to all the old webinars as well. Everything. Just do it. Right. News.
I'm just shocked. Derek King said, Ed, spotted you today. My goodness, you are tall.
He's not that tall. He was just with Paul Kidell, who's actually quite short.
You should have come and said hi, Derek.
Yeah, you should go up to Ed and go, you're Ed Hicks, and I claim my £5 on my latte or something.
Something like that. Yes. Now I was lucky to bump into Paul Kidell. Was on one of his epic fly around tours today. I think he's done 15 airstrips in something like 48 hours. So and he dropped in towards it to say hi. So good to see him.
Good. Right, well, kicking off the news as usual is Editor Dave.
Right, well, it's not a great news story. This apparently in Portugal, there's a new carbon tax coming in from the 1st of July that will affect every general aviation flight in the country. There's a complicated formula that takes a number of seats and kilometres flown, multiplied by a factor. It basically works out at approximately €44 for a Cessna 152 on an hour's flight. That's on top of everything else. It's important to say we've not had this completely verified by the Portuguese authorities as yet. We've seen some government papers, but it's in Portuguese. It's quite hard to translate and really be sure about it. But we have heard from two separate sources. One of our contributors, Artem Liss, is out in Portugal and he's heard it. And also we did check it with Martin Robinson of the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, who in turn checked it with his European colleagues. And it does appear to be the case. It's part of a whole package of things the Portuguese government is bringing in to try and decarbonise, which is obviously a good thing. They're also introducing at the same time a carbon tax on BizJet passengers, which is not horrendous. You have to say it's €2 per passenger, so it's not really on the scale of this, for instance. But it's a bit of a worrying thing. Apparently, general aviation flying in Portugal is pretty hard anyway. Every time you leave a government aerodrome, they're all owned by the government. Every time you leave a government aerodrome, you've got to tell them and file a flight plan, and it's not the UK by any means. So anyway, that's what we don't want, of course, is this idea to spread any further, which would it's probably going to kill GA in Portugal if it goes ahead.
Andrew Kennedy says, doesn't that fall foul of ICAO requirements that prevent taxation of aviation at a state level?
That's a very good point. I don't know anything about that, but our correspondent in Portugal, Ayrton, did say he'd spoken to ANAC, which is equivalent to the CAA in Portugal, and they did not put this through themselves. It was a government thing, so it's been imposed on aviation by the government, and ANAC is scrambling actually to try and work out how it's going to play out. So it's a bit of a mess, really.
It is a mess. We still have some inquiries into various government places in Portugal to try and get to the bottom of it and find some links to some legislation and stuff that make it completely clear. But there's a whole load of stuff that's slightly confusing, lost in translation, and
yes.
But as you say, it's not a good thing. It's potentially a bad thing, and it's also a bonkers thing. €2 per seat in a BizJet and 40-50 quid. It's mad.
Right.
Yeah.
As Mike Roberts says, it's targeting those rich GA flyers, not the airlines bringing in tourists. That's a big part of their economy.
Well, and given that Portugal is surrounded by lots of things that use more fuel than GA, like big motorboats and gym palaces and all the rest of it. So it's just one of those that basically, if it comes in, it's just some people going, "Hey, look, we're doing something," and when they're doing sweet effing. So, but there you go.
There we go. Stuart Rue says he's going to vote with his feet and go elsewhere.
Well, let's find out if it's let's get a verification first, because at the moment, we don't want to kind of establish it as fact that Portugal has shot itself in the feet multiple times, but it certainly seems to be taking aim. So but bear with us. We will find out. If you happen to know, let us know. Rachel, different story.
Yes.
Doncaster.
No, a little closer to home. There's a bit of news about Doncaster Sheffield Airport, which closed at the end of October last year. But things are slightly looking perhaps like they might be potentially positive for the future for them. The council seems determined to reopen it at some point. And I don't think this is actually happening yet, but they're certainly talking about implementing what's known as an Article 4 directive, which essentially stops buildings on the airfield being demolished. For example, the control tower and the hangar buildings. They'd need planning permission if they wanted to demolish any of those buildings. They're also not ruling out a compulsory purchase order if it comes to that. So essentially it's shaping up to be a very similar situation to the one we had at Wellesbourne a few years ago, which didn't quite make it to the CPO stage, but there was the Article 4 directive, which seemed pretty efficient at stopping that happening at the 11th hour. So let's hope it's positive news for reopening Doncaster at some point with aviation, but also with other mixed commercial use as well.
Yeah,
it's much easier to go to Kentucky, isn't it, than it is. Sorry, Dave.
So I was going to say, it's a huge runway, and they've got fantastic facilities. Yeah. I mean, it's the kind of thing that you'll never ever be able to build again.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Talking of building, it's your turn for the Isle of Man.
Oh, the Isle of Man. Do you know it's the TT Speed Fortnight coming up? Starts very soon. I wish I was going. Anyway, apart from that, Isle of Man, the Isle of Man government, which operates and owns Ronaldsway Airport, the main airport in the Isle of Man, has been looking at ways of lowering its subsidy to the airport, and it's been looking at different ways of running it, because basically it runs it as a government department at the moment, which is probably not the most efficient way to run an airport. Anyway, among the things that have come out of all that is the possibility of making some of the land available for an aero park, a Manx aero park, where people could have mixed use units. Mixed use being they could be hangars with businesses in, but they could also be residential as well, have a residential unit attached. And the chap, Peter Day, who runs Hangar Homes, Peter Day is the most persistent person in the world when it comes to trying to get somewhere to build these hangar homes. He's been fighting on several fronts, but this one actually looks very promising. He stresses that it's mixed use, so it's not just having a home with a hangar. It's got to have a business as well. So it's a slight difference from what he's been trying to do somewhere else. But anyway, so it's going ahead. It's he's at the moment he's looking for signs of support. In other words, would anybody want to go and buy one of these things? And we heard from him yesterday, and yes, apparently they do. So it's looking quite positive on that front. Of course, there's still a long way to go before it actually happens, as government departments tend to move very slowly.
Okay, let's go for a bit of a vote in the amongst the people watching. Hands up, and I have no idea. Who think what's going to come first? Are we going to have mass eVTOLs, or are we going to have a hangar home in the UK?
Ooh, yes.
Not sure which is coming first. eVTOLs. It does seem ridiculously difficult for someone to build a couple of houses on. I'd love to live on a place. I have a little suspicion that a lot of people don't like it because that kind of commits them to keeping it as an airport, and a whole load of people think, no, there's a whole load of money there that we can make by flogging off to housing estate or industrial estate or something. But who knows? Anyway, my story next. Happy birthday time. Happy birthday, Tecnam. Tecnam, the Italian manufacturer down at Naples, is celebrating its 75th anniversary, so 1948 to 2023. Founded by the Pascali brothers back in 1948, who were the original creators of the Partenavia. The company has, I mean, it's probably about 20 years since I went down there, and every time I've been down since, it's kind of grown a bit and added a model and added a development. So they had a huge party down there, which was there's a bit of cake you can see in there. That's the Pascali, the extended Pascali family in there, and there you go. They had a huge party and a celebration and lots of tours and lots of stuff like that. It's a hugely impressive little factory. Actually, they are clearly Europe's most prolific GA manufacturer,
and probably one of the world's most prolific GA manufacturers now, I think.
Probably one of the world's, yeah, with stuff that ranges from the little P92 ultralight, P92 Eagle, I think it is, that's kind of like their original diversion into lightweight aircraft, up to now they've got the P2012 6, 8, 10-seater kind of short haul piston engine Islander, Otter kind of replacement, which
Erotique, Darren Erotique says, was there any dancing, Ian? Any video of that?
No, so I throughout the meal there were a few people invited to say a few words, and I was one of those people invited to say a few words, and I was up at the end, and not quite the last words, as it were, but towards the end. So I decided it was probably better that I remained sober throughout that, and as a result, my only dancing happens in that short period between when I'm drunk and before I become comatose. There's just like a little window, a little dancing window And Darren, once upon a time, caught me in that dancing window and managed to video it. And I'm, it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
It's out there waiting for the Ian Seeger TikTok channel.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen, Ed.
Yeah. Anyway, Annabelle C says, Ian, say a few words.
Annabelle, if you're at Wickham tomorrow, we're going to need to have a few words, I'm afraid. But anyway, right. So anyway, Technam, very, very impressive. They've just opened a new museum as well. So,
as John Miller says, just what a GA manufacturer should look like.
Super, super innovative, and even though there's kind of hundreds of people that work there, a real kind of feeling that it's clearly a big family undertaking. Very impressive, I have to say. Very impressive. New museums just opened there, so I'll find out a little bit more about that. Unfortunately, you can't fly into the airfield for all sorts of reasons. You could if you spoke Italian. But anyway, let's move on from that. Ed.
Yes, you may remember we had Mark Greenfield on talking about the Typhoon restoration project. Well, the video from that day has been launched on YouTube. It's gone live, and I have to say it's really, really good, and it's worth 30 minutes of your time to watch. It's been produced by GA pilot Mark Litherland, who's a professional filmmaker, and it shows because it's got none of the low production value of a flyer. And it basically explains why the Typhoon Preservation Group was set up by Sam and the progress made so far. And as Mark says, the film demonstrates why the Typhoon was such an important aircraft in World War II, how it changed the course of the war, and why there's a glaring gap in warbird heritage. 3,317 built and none are flying today. So Mark says his highlight was getting to film Bernard Gardner, who's a World War II Typhoon pilot, who was just 4 days off his 101st birthday. And he went flying in a Hurricane and went inverted. And you can see all of that in the video. And I'll stick a link in the comments because it is brilliant.
Yeah, it's a wonderful moment when they take him up in a Hurricane. It's one of those sort of peeling onions moments when you
Did you have a bit of grit in your eye, Dave?
Yeah, grit in my eye, that's right.
There we go. Follow that link and give yourself half an hour and a drink. So
yeah,
it's rare that I watch a YouTube video for half an hour. So my attention span is a little bit challenged, but I'm gonna sit down with a drink and watch that, and we'll probably get some tissues as well.
Yes. Oh, there we go. Mark says nothing wrong with flying production standards for the budget. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. And the budget is minimal. Right, Leeds Eid approaches. Do you remember that chap, Grant Shapps, who used to be the Minister for Transport and Aviation and stuff like that, and run a couple of dodgy internet businesses under false names? But that was in his past.
Allegedly.
No, I think that's well proven. Anyway, he doesn't talk to me anymore. For various reasons, but apart from that, a while ago when he was being super enthusiastic for general aviation, he was saying he was trying to unblock the blockage that existed somewhere within the CA to get approaches approved, and somehow through an awful lot of tenacity, him and a whole load of other people made a difference, and Leeds East was approved, I think, sometime last week, which just leaves Haverfordwest and Cumbernauld as the only two that are still grinding through from the Grant Shapps days. So that is good news indeed. I have a little picture here because you can see, if you see this, kind of those approaches between Sherburn and Elmet and Leeds East look like they may be crossing. That could be an interesting situation, couldn't it? There is an AIC that explains how they're going to cope with it, and there'll be a little brochure being written, but basically, effectively, only one of the approaches can be in use at any one time. So I don't know what they're going to do. You'd either have to hold, or you'd have to land somewhere you didn't want to land, or who knows, whatever. Knowing the CA, they probably put a requirement in that you can only fly one approach per month or something.
Yeah, so. Is it wrong that I thought maybe they could play rock paper scissors over who gets the really steep approach, who gets the really flat approach?
Go Charlie Delta, get off Alpha Bravo. After 3, say rock paper or scissors. Yeah, I mean they do look quite close, but I mean how brilliant! At least to have that many approaches, not brilliant to have them that close, and that will need managing. But given that we had nothing before, it's great that this stuff's actually happening. So good news. Well done, everybody. And I do believe that Paul Fraser-Benison, who's in the audience there, had a significant role to play in that. Round of applause for everyone involved, even Grant Sharps.
If it's a modern approach, Paul's had a finger in that pie. So
absolutely, Rachel, you're up next.
Yeah. So the Civil Aviation Authority has obviously spent some time and money on putting together a snazzy little animated video highlighting the dangers of flying over gliding sites, and in particular flying over gliding sites that have winch launches, which can go up to sort of 3,000 feet or more. And I started off in gliders myself, and I will never forget being told by one of the instructors that a glider winch cable could slice through you like a knife through hot butter. And this is a video that is aimed at making sure that pilots don't end up in that situation. If you've not done any gliding, you may not be aware of what winch launching is like, how quickly you get up into the air, and how those cables can interfere with anyone that happens to be flying over. So have a watch of that video. It's nicely put together and an important message, and with some good tips for avoiding gliding sites as well.
Have we got a link for that?
Oh, no.
On the FLYER forum.
Go to the FLYER forum. There's a whole thread about it where as is the way with the FLYER forum, often there's a hugely detailed discussion.
And obviously, I should have said a hot knife through butter, not the other way around.
a knife through hot butter.
Yes, a hot knife through butter.
Okay, hot knife through butter.
There you go. I found the forum.
Butter, beware.
Yeah, I found the forum thread, and there it is.
There it is. Post number 1. Look at that. So
Jane says, I think all powered pilots should do a few hours gliding just to get the understanding of it.
The understanding of it and the skills that it teaches as well.
Yeah.
If you're watching this live or on catch up and you'd like us to organise a little glider taster course that we might be able to set up somewhere, then let us know. And if there's enough people who let us know, we might even manage to get around to it, which would be good fun.
Okay.
What did Mark Litherland say? I used to drive the winch.
Mark Litherland says, I used to drive the winch at Hallavington and Enstone, and those cables have a lot of energy in. Yeah. And they're not little cables, are they? They are big cables.
They are. And I have to say, a winch launch is a very exciting experience.
Brilliant.
Exhilarating is the word I was after.
Yeah.
I can highly recommend it. Yeah, everyone should go get a couple of winch launches and some flying. Come on, people, put your hands up, and we'll see if we can get it sorted. Yeah. Ed, time to wrap up news. The last story.
Oh, Eretiques, Darren says, yes, I'd love to do some gliding. There we go. So a question for you. So what should you definitely not do to get views on your flying videos if you're a YouTube presenter? Should you make a nice video about hoovering the inside of the aeroplane? Should you demonstrate forced landing techniques, or should you just jump out of the aeroplane and pretend like the aeroplane had stopped and there was nothing you could do about it?
Definitely. Well, if your aim is to get views, you should definitely do the last one. However, there are consequences.
There are, and Trevor Jacobs, YouTuber Trevor Jacob, is finding that out because he agreed on May the 10th to plead guilty to a felony charge for obstructing a federal investigation. So basically, you might remember Trevor Jacob was the YouTuber who was on a flight in his Taylor craft across the mountains, and luckily he was wearing a parachute. And then all of a sudden was surprised when the engine stopped, and he decided the only course of action was to jump out holding his selfie stick. Which he did, and but it would appear that he faked all of that, and then lied to the FAA about a bunch of stuff, and then went and found the wreckage and threw it all away to make sure they couldn't investigate it. So he's facing potentially up to 20 years in jail. So if you're thinking about a career in YouTube flying videos, don't fake a crash.
No, I reckon I had a look at his video earlier today. Did I get a picture of it? I probably got a picture and forgot to upload it. But it's kind of, yeah. No, there you go. The pure incompetence. Didn't manage it. 4.1 million views he's got on that video so far, which in YouTube terms these days is probably worth at least £2,000 or something like that, which seems to be not a huge amount of recompense for time in prison. I'm not even sure a week in prison would not. Well, no, it doesn't. I thought that would be horrible. Oh, no, definitely wouldn't want to do that. So that's my top tip. If you want to get views, do that, but you're going to end up in prison probably.
You should. Yes, which is a great segue to our guest. But no, to someone who makes good videos.
Someone who makes good video. Okay, let's just. I'm gonna bring Bruno on. I'm gonna move Bruno here. Hello, Bruno.
Hello, everyone. Hi from across the pond. Great to be on the show.
It's great to have you here. Right, there you go. Which one is it? Not that one. No. Where's it gone?
There we go.
There you go.
Oh.
There you go. Bruno, before we get into it, I've got a couple of video. This is Bruno from Fly with Bruno. As you can see there, Bruno has a YouTube channel, a massive Instagram, and all sorts of other bits and pieces. And if you were watching last week, we were talking to Philippe Pullman about some of the differences between flying in the US and flying in the UK. One of the things we probably didn't mention last week was the extent to which an awful lot of things are possible in the US that are pretty much impossible in the UK. And I'm sure that there will be many air traffic controllers watching this now in the very sober way that they do, saying, well, of course it's not possible. We couldn't do that here. But let me just say that Newark is one of the airports that serves New York. There's Newark, there's LaGuardia, there's JFK, there's Teterboro. It's fair to say that it's a fairly, between them all, they must have 20, 30, 40 approaches. God knows how many hundreds of thousands of movements. Not to mention a corridor that goes up and down the Hudson that you can fly up and down without actually talking to any air traffic control, unless you want to go a bit higher. And then you have this request, this short video of the request. Listen carefully.
New York Tower, good morning. Grumman 9984, uniform 8 miles southwest of Morristown. We are inbound Newark for a low approach runway 11.
9984, uniform North Tower, squawk 0333, ident.
0333, identify firm.
4 uniforms, radar contact 15 miles west of Newark Airport, 2,500. Clear to the class stop airspace, make straight in approach, runway 11. Newark wind is calm, the Newark altimeter 3025.
3025, we're clear for the low approach, straight in runway 11 for 84 uniform.
Blimey.
Oh, why is it doing that? Shouldn't do that. Oh.
There we go.
There you go. If it's going to do that every time, it's going to get on my nerve. Anyway, so Bruno, welcome. Thank you very much. We'll talk about that shortly, but perhaps we know you through your kind of YouTube stuff and a little bit of bio, which we spoke about earlier. But perhaps you could kind of give us a little bit of an introduction of how you came to aviation, and in your view, perhaps a little bit late. In our view, perhaps a little bit early.
Yes, absolutely. So I figured that I loved aviation when I was a 5-year-old, literally a small child. And I grew up watching aviation videos, reading magazines, educating myself on everything that was aviation related. But at some point in my childhood, I remember my mom telling me that if I were to pursue a career in aviation, I would be potentially not home all the time, not being able to raise a family, like kind of that stuff. And that stuck with me. And I decided to pursue a whole different career, which is advertising, something that I do to this day. But despite that, on the side, on the side, I never stopped educating myself, reading, watching films and all of that, and even playing Flight Simulator, which helped me, a lot during my my teenagehood and my my 20s and all of that. And back to my career in advertising in 2015. By the way, I should start by saying that I am born and raised in Brazil, São Paulo, Brazil, and I spent, where I spent most of my life. And then from 2015, thanks to a career opportunity, I moved to the US, New York. And it was after I caught here in New York and started working in New York that I realized that I finally in life had the balance, the work-life balance and the resources to actually pursue that childhood dream that I had that I had for 30 years at that point. So I joined the flight school. I started taking flight lessons, got my private license, got my instrument license, and my instrument rating rather. And a year later, which is 3 years ago, I bought my plane, which is right here above me, Grumman Cheetah, and it literally changed my life. So when I tell people that I got into aviation late, it's perhaps not late from a age perspective, because I was 35, and for a lot of people, that's actually much sooner than they can actually start thinking about aviation. Sometimes you wait for your kids to go to college, or you wait until you retire or something like that. But I consider 35 late for me personally, because I know it took me 30 years since from the day I started. I looked at a plane and I said, oh my God, this is something that I like, that I love, and maybe this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life, to the point where I actually sat on the plane and took the controls for the first time. So that's why I call it late, but that's how I got into aviation. And so that's kind of my story. I've been flying since 2019, which is when I got my private pilot's license. And like I said earlier, it completely changed my life, and it's the best thing I've ever done.
So was there ever a moment when you were taking your original lessons, you're going, what happens if I don't actually like this after all of that?
Can you repeat that question again?
So after deciding that you completely loved aviation for 30 odd years, was there not an issue at the beginning where you think, you get in, you go, well, what if I don't like this? What if it's not what I expected?
I think when you develop a passion for something, I don't think that gets into your mind like, what if I don't succeed at this, or what if I don't like it? I think you pour yourself so much into it that you're I don't think you even consider that a possibility. What if I don't like this? I think what you think is, how do I succeed at this? And I'll do whatever it takes for this to work. Which I think that I would assume that that's what every student pilot thinks while they're doing their training and going through the potential struggles during training and the obstacles and all of that.
I don't know. That might be a good reflection on the difference in UK and US mentality, I guess. How do I succeed? What if you don't like it? we are slightly different, as it were. So you went through your private license and you got your instrument rated, and you decided to buy an airplane.
Yes.
What led you to the AA5?
I started. I knew nothing about plane ownership when I decided that I wanted a plane, and I think the decision started from a very rational and simple point that after I finished my instrument rating, that was probably one of the hardest things I ever had to do. It was really hard, and I think other pilots will agree. But I quickly realized, as soon as I had my ticket, I realized that it would take me flying and practicing it very, very often in order to stay proficient at that. Because I would take lessons every weekend, and flying flying on a Sunday and then coming back to fly again and take lessons on a Saturday was enough of a gap for me to forget a few things that I had mastered the weekend before, or I was proficient at something that I wasn't anymore. So I was like, I need to fly often. And I used to rent planes at the time. And if I kept renting planes at the rate that I was as often as I was renting, it was just cheaper to have my own plane. What I didn't know is that owning an airplane doesn't only give you perhaps an economical benefit of you're not renting, you're just paying for the plane as you use. But what I didn't know, and I was happily surprised, is that ownership also brings you a lot of learnings on mechanics, and you grow as a pilot. You become a safer pilot. You take care of the plane, and you force yourself to understand your plane and planes in general at a different, on a different level. Back to why the AA5. as soon as I started searching for a plane, obviously I started with the planes that I had trained on, meaning the PA-28 Cherokee and the Cessna 172. So I was basically looking at these two models and trying to find ones that were, being sold by a reasonable price and were, I don't know, located somewhere near or something like that. And then I quickly realized that I was doing some research that the market in the US, and this is the middle of the pandemic, was really heated up for GA, which means that by the time I saw an ad or a plane that like caught my attention or my interest, and picked up the phone and called the seller, somebody else had already called first, made a deposit just in case, and was on a plane towards him to see that plane. And it was a race. And I was looking, beautiful planes that were halfway across the country or in Florida. And I was like, wow, this is going to be hard. I need to expand my search a little bit more and perhaps consider other models. And that's when I found out that there was a guy who hadn't advertised his Grumman Cheetah yet, but he wanted to sell. A friend of his saw a post of mine, called me and said, hey, call this guy. I know he wants to sell. And the plane happened to be 60 miles, or should I say 80 kilometers from my house. So I was like, wait, I'm looking at planes in Florida, in Arizona, Oregon, California, and now there's just one plane here that hasn't been advertised. Nobody knows it's for sale. And I can drive to it and actually see without competing with anyone. So it felt like an opportunity. And then the only caveat was, well, the plane needs to be in good shape, right? So I drove there, met with the seller, who became a friend, actually. And the plane was in pristine condition. It was very well kept. And I flew it once. I flew it that day. We took it flying for around the pattern and around the Long Island. It was a quick flight, but it was just enough for me to think, I cannot let this opportunity go. It wasn't exactly the model that I was looking for. I had never flown a Grumman before, but I immediately fell in love with the plane, and life's been great ever since.
Okay, so you buy the airplane, you get the airplane back, and then how does that transfer? Lots and lots and lots of people have got airplanes. How did that become an Instagram thing and a YouTube thing and a video making thing?
When I started my training, I also started sharing my training through social media. And at that point, this was back in early 2019, I had, I don't know, like 100, 200 people that followed me and, just were curious about what I was doing. And obviously I was taking lessons. I wasn't taking pictures while taken the lessons, but I had my phone with me, and during pre-flight or shortly in between finishing the pre-flight and waiting for my flight instructor to come for us to fly, or after tying down the plane, after the flight was done, I just loved so much being around planes that taking my phone and taking pictures and all of that, making videos, kind of came naturally. I wanted to share that I was there, I was doing this, and I loved it so much. And slowly, it started growing. More people got interest. I think I also have a passion for photography. So I think that, I was trying to merge both of these passions and taking beautiful pictures of planes and trying to look at different angles and whatnot. And I think the content started getting noticed. And I was already sharing my story since then. And I think the story got interesting when I got my private pilot's license. Suddenly I was renting planes to fly different places. And then I was doing my instrument training, and then I bought a plane, and then I was going more places and taking care of the plane. And I think people stuck with me and wanted to follow that journey, not only because perhaps it was interesting to them, but most importantly, because they could relate to, because I was showing both sides of what aviation can be. I never put myself out there as a perfect pilot. I showed my mistakes. I talk about my struggles. I actually have on video some things that I did wrong, whether it's a wrong way to communicate with ATC, or perhaps, something that happened to the plane because I wasn't careful enough, or I didn't pay much attention to this. And I think that people started seeing that it's genuine. It was, a little bit unique. but it was also coming from the heart and from a guy who, like everyone else that got into aviation, just loved airplanes, waited 30 years to get this started, and was just sharing this in the most genuine way possible.
Talking of doing things wrong, I think Ed's got a question.
Yeah, you must be the only pilot I know who's ever been trapped inside their own aeroplane.
Yes, that's probably true. And let me start by saying that was completely my fault. So the short story for those who perhaps are not familiar with the Grumman AA5 is differently from other airplanes such as the Cessna or the Pipers. The Grumman has a sliding canopy, like the old warbirds had, which is really, really cool. But it deserves some attention because there's a special way of latching it before flight, unlatching it for you to get out of that. And on that particular day, I had a malfunction on the lock on the outside, because you get off the plane, you close the canopy, and you lock it just like you lock any other door. And that lock was not working too well. And on that particular day, I remember fumbling with it and trying to make it work before I departed for my flight. And at some point, I was like, you know what? Like just leave it as is. I'll just go flying. And what I didn't realize is that I had accidentally left it in the locked position. So when I closed the canopy to go flying, it locked as if somebody had locked it from the outside, but from the inside, I could not tell. I just turned on my engine, it was closed, and I went flying, spent 2.5 hours flying. By the time I got back, I could not, the lever wouldn't move. I would try to move try to open the canopy, and it wouldn't. So I was literally trapped inside, and I quickly realized, well, maybe it's something with the lock or something like that. And I realized I wouldn't be able to get out of the plane. So unless actually I crawled to the back of the baggage compartment and actually exit to there. I didn't want that to be the plan A, because I was afraid that going to the baggage compartment would mean that the tail would, hit the ground, or the plane would kind of like tilt up because of the weight. So I was kind of being careful, and I said, well, let me assess my options here. So I got on the radio. I had a handrail. I had already shut down and everything. And I got my handheld radio, and I called, the common traffic frequency at the airport. It was night. It was cold. Nobody was there. And I wanted to see if somebody was there, maybe walking on the ramp or like doing something that could come help me, or at least look at the latch and try to open it from the outside. And but to my surprise, a guy who was actually flying nearby answered my call. And he said, "What's up?" And I said, "Oh, you're flying. Never mind." I was actually looking for somebody on the ground, but he insisted. He was like, "What's going on?" And I told him, I was kind of embarrassed, but I told him I'm locked inside my plane and I can't get out. And he actually laughed but he landed the plane and actually came to my help. And turns out that when he looked at the lock, he saw it was locked from the outside. I crawled to the back while he was standing on the wing, so he would balance the weight. I opened the baggage compartment using an emergency latch that exists, and passed him the keys, and he unlocked me. And that's how the situation went. And what I didn't know is that there is an emergency latch for when this happens in Grummans. You can simply push an emergency latch, and it unlocks the canopy. It doesn't break anything. It just overrides the original latch, and you can walk out. So somebody actually landed and helped me for something I could have fixed or done in 5 seconds. But I think it created a great story that shows like how pilots are there to help each other. I want to believe that that's always the case. And as much as it was embarrassing for me, I shared that story again with the goal of showing it's not all flowers in aviation, and every flight is a lesson learned. It may be an embarrassing one. It may be maybe a dangerous one. This wasn't, but it definitely taught me a lesson. And I think that for every pilot, this is particularly true. Every lesson that you learn probably came from a mistake or a situation that you don't want to put yourself in again. And the more you fly, the more experience you have, the safer you probably are. And that was a learning moment for me.
I'm sure there's a lot of Grumman pilots who didn't know, because it's not placarded, is it? There's nothing to tell you that you can reach in and do this. So
well, it is supposed to be placarded, but not everybody has that placard. Now, a Grumman specialist will say if you don't have that placard, you're not complying with the FAA rules, and you have to have that placard. But it turns out that because I was so new to the plane and still learning everything about it, I didn't have access at the time to someone who could actually tell me that a placard was missing. It wasn't the owner's manual and everything, but it's not something that I was kind of looking deep. So had a placard been there, I would probably have figured it out. It is there now, but it wasn't at the time. So, but indeed, lots of other Grumman pilots privately reached out to me and said, "Hey, thank you. Now I know." Or others said, "Hey, it happened to me once," or it happened. So it was a nice way to bond with other pilots who were also willing to share privately, at least, that they also learned about that emergency latch in the same way.
Cool. Time is marching on, so let's. We kicked off with you requesting an approach in a low flyby at Newark. Perhaps you could just give us a quick kind of resume of how that happened. Then we got another clip of that same flight a little bit further along.
Sure. I think one important aspect of that flight, and if you watch the whole video, I make sure that that's understood, is I had an air traffic controller from Newark on board. He was right next to me. And we like, while this is not a common thing for a small plane to do in big airports, it is legal as long as you do it in a safe manner. But the fact that I had ATC, a friend ATC with me, we called the tower ahead. He was talking to his fellow controllers. He asked what would be the best time for us to do, what would be the best runway to use. So we kind of coordinated it beforehand. So when I called, it wasn't a surprise. They knew I was coming. But back to your point, like, this is probably not something that is perhaps legal in other countries. Here in the US, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not wise to do it in the middle of a busy day in an airport. You probably get, you won't get that clearance. And it depends on the controllers. But on that day, not only I had a controller with me in the cockpit, ensuring that, I was doing the right things and we were doing it how it's supposed to be done, but we coordinated in advance. So that's how it happened.
Cool. Okay, well, let's just play this little bit of video. It's not the whole video, because otherwise we might as well go and watch it on your channel, which people can more than willingly do. So let's just play this a little bit further in the flight.
Low approach.
Now, this is a view I'm not used to.
Yeah, it was kind of nice that I actually asked him beforehand, how low can I go? And he told me, as long as you don't touch the runway, you can go as low as you want. So I try to go as low as my comfort level allowed me to. But there's one of the frames that you can actually see that was at the same height as that 787, which was actually kind of being told to the to a different ramp, and it was actually holding short for me. So it was pretty fun, and it was a pretty unique thing to do.
Yeah, I should point out to people that there's in the YouTube video, there's a whole load of music, and the video is really good. I kind of took the music off because I didn't want YouTube to go, it's not your music kind of thing, which it isn't.
I put a link in the comments to that video. It's to imagine that was in the UK and you called up Heathrow for a low approach.
you could have an aeroplane for the 3 controllers and it still wouldn't help.
It still wouldn't happen. Yeah.
Still wouldn't happen. No, there was. I think during COVID, I'm not sure if it happened to Heathrow. I think there was a little bit more freedom during COVID for Gatwick and a few other places, I think. But
but in America, you can do this stuff all the time. It doesn't take COVID to get you access. So
I've been picked up in a GA airplane from JFK, and I've dropped Dave off once. I don't know if you remember, in Orlando International.
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
And I landed with Ivy at Atlanta Hartsfield, or whatever it's called, which is
one of the busiest places, isn't it?
It comes up at the top of like the busiest airport in the world, kind of thing, and it's got more runways than McDonald's, really. Yeah, no, we do a lot of stuff in the USA.
Right.
Bruno, it's unfortunately we've kind of run out of time. And so, are there any urgent questions in the comments, Ed, or anyone else got any questions?
There's a good comment from Dave White though. The world needs more enthusiasts like Bruno, and not just in flying. So I think you've been a great guest. Thank you very much, Bruno.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you very much, Bruno. It's been an absolute pleasure. Go check out Bruno's channel. Are you going to Oshkosh?
I am. I see your T-shirt. I'll be at Oshkosh this year for the 3rd time, and I'm super excited about it. There's actually a few surprises because my Plane 84 uniform will actually be a part of the exhibition at Oshkosh this year. I can't give more details now, but it's a pretty exciting year for me, and I hope to see you, if not all of you, some of you.
Yeah, I think you'll see all of us. Right?
All of us will be at Oshkosh this year.
Fantastic.
So if we see you, we'll grab you and record a little interview or something with you there. We're flying in commercial as opposed to in our GA airplanes.
Okay. That's probably, I'm flying my plane there. There's a specific date I need to be there to comply with, the rules of like getting the plane parked and everything. But yes, I very much look forward to Oshkosh this year, seeing you all. And I'll be happy to meet up and chat more. And thank you everybody for watching and for joining. It was really nice talking.
Thank you. We'll see you at Oshkosh. We'll see.
Great stuff. It must be time for Fancy Hangar.
Oh, there.
Cloudhopper says, great guest, thanks guys. And Adam Blinch reminds us Neil and Buzz flew a Grumman. It's a good choices, aren't they? It's quite nice handling. They're quite nicely built. That sliding canopy, good little aeroplane. That
one of the problems they had with gluing that stuff on. Jim Beattie was involved in the Grumman, wasn't he?
I think it kind of evolved from an early Beattie design. So
good. Yeah.
Anyway, so Fancy Hangar this week, inspired by I think it was the CAA gliding site video. We started thinking, hey, we've never picked a glider for our Fancy Hangar. Oh, and partly it was the Portugal thing as well. It's like maybe gliders will be the only thing you can usefully fly in Portugal. So let's have some glider love.
Well, you get to pick, Ed. You can choose the running order.
Dave. First. Dave
right. I've set myself a blinking stupid challenge here because I have to try and say the name of this thing. It's a Robert Archaeopteryx. Is that right, Ed? You know,
Archaeopteryx.
Yes. Anyway, it's a Swiss-built glider, which is it's built so you can launch it in many different ways. Here is the obvious one. You can foot launch it down a hill. You don't have to do that. You can also tow it along, either from a tow plane or you can winch launch it. Or it's got an electric. Some of them have an electric drive at the back. So as that thing spins, the propellers come out because of centrifugal force. And anyway, here it is. It's very high tech, designed by a University of Zurich students. And it's in production. 106,000 euro for 106,000 Swiss francs for the top version with the electric drive.
That's quite a cool thing. I've seen a video of a guy flying it, and literally he walks to the top of the hill. It's a strong wind. He jumps up, swings his legs up, and flies off. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, you don't have to land on your feet. You can. There is also a video of him landing on his feet.
Yeah.
But no, there's a wheel underneath, and land on the wheel.
So that's 94,390. Best part of £95,000.
It is made of Kevlar and carbon, and probably some unobtainium as well.
I think what else you could get for that money, though?
Yeah,
it's a lot, Rachel.
You can buy. There's a lot of things you can buy for that money.
Yeah.
It is beautifully made, though.
Yeah, it does look lovely. Lovely. Rachel, what have you picked?
Well, my first thought on receiving the assignment for Fantasy Hangar this week was Space Shuttle. But I thought I should take the assignment a little bit more seriously. So my choice, there she is. My choice is the Airspeed Horsa, which is an absolute classic from World War II. I think it's very cool the thought that you could, well done, Dave. Yeah, same for me. So the thought that you could load this thing up with 25 troops and a jeep and a 6-pound anti-tank weapon is incredible. When we think what gliders will carry these days, maximum 2 people. And the fact that glider warfare gave us the ability to sneak into enemy territory without being detected, and the fact that I think during the D-Day invasion, these gliders were responsible for about a quarter of the air supplies taken into France as well. So they were pretty incredible aircraft, and also they were launched. 21 of them were launched from RAF Broadwell, which is a disused airfield in the Brise zone, quite close to where I live. So a little bit of a local connection there too.
There we go. Darren at Aerotique says we've got a Horsa cockpit at the Jet Age Museum. So, very good.
I should know the answer to this, but I presume there are none left actually flying.
There's none left actually flying, and I'm not sure if any originals, if any complete Horsas still exist. They were built to be pretty kind of throwaway, really. So they were not long lasting, and obviously a bunch of them were all thrown at France. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a couple of strong entries there, isn't it, so far?
Yes. Yeah. Ian, what did you go for?
Well, like Rachel, my immediate thought was the space shuttle. I mean, clearly it's got to be the ultimate glider, doesn't it, really? And then I kind of thought, well, there's a thing, I don't know if you remember, there's a thing called an ETA, that kind of dates from not that long ago. And at the time it was used, it was like the most efficient glider in the world. It's got a 30 meter, well, 30 meters and 90 centimeter wing.
That's quite big.
A glide ratio of 70-1.
Wow.
Self-launching, which is pretty damn impressive. And we did a story on this in FLYER a gazillion years ago, and I wasn't in it, but someone else was in it, and with the one of the designers. And air traffic were kind of like, "Can you hold off?" And they just went, "Yeah, of course." And they just sat there orbiting, waiting to come. In my gliding days, we get, "No, I'm coming in now." That's it. But it was like, and I think it's got something like a descent rate of like something like 70 feet a minute or something. It's ridiculous, absolutely beautiful thing. But
yeah, Martin Loosby says hangarage would be expensive if you're paying by the
I think it would be a real pain in a crosswind, and and also a bit like biz jets. Modern high performance gliders just all look a bit the same, don't they?
They're like plastic 2-seat Rotax aeroplanes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like sort of thing. But anyway, so I went for a 1950s design. There you go, the Fauvel, designed by Charles Fauvel in the 50s. It's kind of said to have a flying wing. I guess there might be a few purists who argue that, but I'm going to go with it. The AV stands for aile volante, so he flying wing. I agree with that. What? Is that you, Dave?
Sorry, I've just seen what Dave White has just commented.
Oh no! Believe it or not, it was actually quite easy to power this. There's a few people who put sort of pusher engines in, and Bolco actually factory built a few powered versions of it. So I went for this one. I think displays at Old Warden quite relatively frequently.
Nice.
I went for the full out. So that just leaves you, Ed.
That just leaves me. And there's only one glider for me, I think, and that's this. It's the stunning Horton H3. And I've almost picked this just because on the wall of my fancy hangar, you could hang this and it would just look gorgeous. But I think if you got to fly it, it sounds like it would be amazing as well. It's pretty unusual. It's completely flying wing. So unlike your Fauvel, no vertical surfaces or anything, because they were drag inducing. Anyway, from 1933 to 1990, Reimar Horton, along with his brother Walter, designed a bunch of swept wing aircraft without fuselages or tails. And they kind of became experts in their field with this. 18 of these Horton H3s were built, and they were astonishingly competitive in a bunch of gliding competitions. Weirdly, you flew them lying down in the prone position, and it's probably the only aeroplane that came equipped with a chin rest. And apparently it's completely normal to fly. It felt completely normal to fly, and you could someone did 10 hours in one and got out feeling completely, they were like, no, that's fine, that's in no numb bum, because you're not sat down normally. So and anyway, so yeah, I just think that's a beautiful thing. A whole bunch of the Hortons were captured after World War II, and it's no surprise. Apparently, the Northrop Aviation Company said, "Oh, we're interested in those flying wings." So if you look at that beautiful wooden sailplane and think that reminds me of the stealth bomber, well, that's where that started off.
So where were we? I'm sure a few years ago, unless I've dreamt it, there was someone trying to resurrect the Horton design, the powered version.
There was. Well, it was Aero Friedrichshafen, probably it was 2019, I think.
That's right.
And the design, it was a Rotax powered. It was hugely efficient, and they were talking of flying it to Oshkosh after Aero, weren't they? And it would have done it in kind of just a few legs. And that aeroplane seems to have vanished. But it's a real shame, because that was a real showstopper at Aero.
It was, yeah. Unfortunately, that was probably its last. I think that was the last. It sort of rang a bell, but I can't remember it before that. So, people in the comments have basically gone for me. Is that right?
In the comments, well, there was a flutter of Ian wins and Ian loses, and lol, Ian wins. That pilot looks a bit short. Only a mother could love that.
It does look a bit short.
Ian's one looks like a kid's blow-up balloon type. That's a bit harsh. Ian's one,
look at this again. Look, he does look a bit short, doesn't he? But
I think it's cute. If Ian's choice is just fugly. Dave wins. Dave White likes my stealth glider.
I think the overwhelming majority is saying that I won.
There's quite a lot of Horsa love, I will say, Rachel.
Jump in there, Rachel.
Okay, we're into the Rachel wins here. Slam dunk for Rachel. Double chin for comfort. Rachel tonight. Yeah, using the loo would be easier when prone for 10 hours. Paul Wheel, harsh. Your face reached the scene of the accident first. Felt normal to fly, apart from your face being right near the ground. Easy win for Rachel. Rachel wins. I think we're going to have to concede, because the evidence suggests overwhelmingly that Rachel has won. There's a Dave wins.
Is that a nostalgia vote, or is that a beauty vote?
Nostalgia wins. Derek Wings is giving us all the participation award. So, but I think we have to say, Rachel has won it.
Yeah, it's my first fantasy hangar that I won.
I know. With a disposable glider.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Dave, events.
Yes, events. So this weekend, there's a private flyer at Wickham Air Park. On Saturday, there's quite a few on Saturday. Abingdon Air and Country Show, motor glider flying at Tiverton, and a Ronca flying at Solent Airport. And over Saturday and Sunday, the spring flying at North Coates.
Fantastic.
And next weekend, the weekend of the bank holiday, is a really busy weekend. There are so many events on.
You need to look at the flyer events list. I just remembered that we forgot to show this beauty in the gliders thing. This is the Fana Calibri.
I think that fits as QSY.
Yeah, that's it's pretty bad. There would have been no love for that.
Yeah.
Can I just remind people, if you are a member of the Flyer Club, you can get 50% off of the tickets for Private Flyer this weekend. Just go to the members section on the website, on the forum, and you'll see it in there. So another reason to join the Flyer Club. You get your money off for all sorts of things. It was bank holiday weekend.
I'm up for the gliding experience, so there's definitely a requirement.
Now, I think let's see if we can't get something sorted out there. Ideally, we want something where people can fly in if they want to in their powered aeroplane. It's going to scare a whole load of gliding clubs, that I can see, isn't it?
Yes.
We might have to work on that. But I reckon we could do something. It'd be quite a fun day, I think.
Yep.
Let's see what we can organise.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. In that case, thank you very much, team. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching Fly Safe this weekend. If you're going to Private Flyer at Wickham, we'll see you there tomorrow. Come and say hello to Dave and I. Thank you very much, Rachel. Enjoy the rest of your
holiday. For standing in for Johnny.
And standing in for Johnny, yeah. And Johnny will be back next week, I think. Who knows? And it's bank holiday, isn't it? Bank holiday weekend next weekend, so the weather's bound to be pants. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a good one, and we'll see you all soon.
See you all soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.